Hi and welcome back to my full festival preview. Hopefully you've enjoyed the day 1 and day 2 videos that I've put out previously. Go back and watch those if you haven't already. But in this video, we're going to have a look at day 3 and day 4 together in one video. I'm going to go through each one of the races. Day 3 looks quite a tough one. There's some difficult races to pick winners out of, but we're going to go through, we're going to give a selection in each one, and I'm going to give my thoughts behind those selection. So make sure you've subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Hit like on the video, drop a comment to let me know your thoughts. But let's get into day 3 and day 4 of the festival together. Here we go. On to Thursday, day number 3, and the first race is the Turners Novice Chase over 2.5 miles. And it's an interesting looking race this year in that we've got 4 horses at the top of the market, short prices. It's 12 to 1 bar those. I will just say I'm recording this on Monday, so final decks aren't out yet, but it looks like those 4 are set to run. And those 4 are Grey Dawning at the head of the market, currently priced around the 9 to 4 mark. You've then got Ginny's Destiny and Facile Vega at 3 to 1, and you've got Irocco at 5 to 1. And I think the obvious starting point here is Ginny's Destiny, who has run 4 times over fences. All 4 of those at Cheltenham, all 4 of those over this distance of 2.5 miles, and has won the last 3. And has looked really good on those last 3 wins as well. Rated 155, the top rated novice chaser in the UK. For Paul Nicholls, who obviously won this race with Stage Star last year, clearly has obvious claims in this race. On Ginny's Destiny's penultimate start, finished 3/4 of a length ahead of Grey Dawning, who has actually surpassed Ginny's Destiny in this market, interestingly, in the last few days. Now the 9 to 4 favourite, as I referenced. Grey Dawning was good on that day and then went on after that race to run over 3 miles, beating the likes of Broadway's Boy, Apple Away. Looked really good in that run. I'm actually surprised has dropped back down to this 2.5 mile distance and isn't going for the Brown Advisory. Maybe that's the factor file effect, who knows. But those 2 obviously set the standard in the UK. You've then got Irocco, who has run once this season over this distance, 2.5 miles in November. Then looked to have suffered a season-ending injury. But interestingly, is back in this race and looks set to run. So I'm happy to leave Irocco alone. Obviously, if he wins last year's Martin Pipe winner, that would be a great story and a great training performance to have him back and ready for this one. But based on that injury, I'm happy to leave him alone. And then you've got, and my selection, the best of the Irish, Facile Vega, currently priced at 3 to 1. A class horse on his day, a horse who has done well in the festival in the last 2 years. Obviously won the Champion Bumper 2 years ago. Finished second in the Supreme last year behind Marine Nationale. I think would have got closer to Marine Nationale if he hadn't have hit that last fence as well. Don't think he would have won, but a nice performance. And in what looks to be, maybe a weaker Turners than previous years, I think Facile Vega has a great chance of winning this race and is a fair price to do so at 3 to 1. Now, Willie Mullins hasn't had a winner of this race since 2017, although Galloping Deschamps probably should have been a winner in this race, falling at the last, and then obviously Bob Ollinger went on to win 2 years ago. But I think Facile Vega is going to give Willie Mullins his first winner in a few years, in 6 years, 7 years, with Facile Vega, and Facile Vega is obviously my selection to win the Turners. Race number 2 on the Thursday is the PMs, and a race where I think not too many of these particularly stand out to me. I don't have a strong opinion, but I will give a selection for this race. I think the PMs is always interesting in that you've obviously got those qualifiers throughout the year. You've got horses who are trying to finish 4th to keep their mark down to get into this race in most cases. And it's really hard to kind of assess who is where in terms of the handicapper. So not a race I particularly love. My selection, however, is going to be Bold Endeavour at 40 to 1. The horse who was 5th in the Coral Cup last year behind Langadan. The horse who came 2nd behind White Rhino in December at Cheltenham on soft ground. So ticks those 2 boxes there. White Rhino obviously 10 to 1 for this race, whereas Bold Endeavour is out at 40 to 1. So it looks to be a bit of value there. I'm keeping it simple. Bold Endeavour fits a lot of trends. An 8-year-old for Nicky Henderson, rated 143. I think how I will be playing this, as I've mentioned for a number of other handicaps, is looking for a bookie who's paying a load of places and having a very small bet on Bold Endeavour. So, PMs, Bold Endeavour, 40 to 1 is my selection. Race number 3 of day number 3, and it's the Ryanair Chase, which is a race that I'm approaching slightly differently to the Turners, in that we've got 3 short prices at the head of this market, and I'm taking them all on and going for a bigger price with my selection. So let's go through the runners here. I think first of all, it's a shame there's no Allaho. I really did fancy Allaho for this race. But then you've got at the top of the market horses like Stage Star, for example, who, as I referenced, won the Turners last year, but has looked disappointing, especially on that last start. So happy to oppose Stage Star. You've got Banbridge, who appears to be quite ground dependent, wants that good ground and looks set to be, you know, soft, you know, even potentially heavy ground if the rain comes in the next few days, as is expected. So certainly going to be a soft ground festival at least, and Banbridge is not going to like that. You've then got Envoy Allen, who did win this race last year, so therefore has to be up there with a chance given that. However, he's 10 years old now, is going to get the soft ground that he wants, but I'm happy to oppose Envoy Allen on the basis of age. Then at the kind of 7-1 to 12-1 mark, there's a load of horses. You've got the likes of Fildor, Protectorat, Capodanno, Conflated, Ahoy Senor, and my selection is going to come from that bunch of horses. The horse that I really like for this race is Fildor, currently priced at 11-1. And has been a horse that I've liked ever since, you know, seen 2 years ago finishing second behind Vauban in the Triumph Hurdle. Now, we saw Fildor come out last year at the Coral Cup, ran no race there, so happy to write that off. Has then come out twice this season, both over 2 miles, and has finished second on both of those occasions, behind El Fabiolo on one of those races and Dino Blue on the other. Now, both of those are obviously very short price favourites for their respective races at the Cheltenham Festival, so 2 solid runs in there. Now, Fildor was obviously part of that Coldwell Construction clan of horses that were sent off to auction and ended up with Rob Corr, purchased for £620,000. So clearly they like the horse, they think he's got ability, and therefore has a chance of doing well at this race. Now, still 6 years old, so still a young, improving horse who I think is going to improve past the likes of, you know, Envoy Allen, for example. I do like the likes of Protectorat. I do like Conflated for the sponsors. I think there's horses for different reasons that have chances. But on this occasion, I'm siding with Fildor at the 11-1 price. So Fildor is my Ryanair selection. Day 3, race number 4. It's the Stayers Hurdle, the 3-mile hurdle race at the festival, the longest race over hurdles. And my obvious starting point here is Irish Point, who I put up at 16-1 for the Anti-Post series, but now is heading for the Champion Hurdle due to Constitution Hill not going for that race. So I'm disappointed. Rob Corr have obviously got another good one in Teahupoo, who we'll come into in a second, but I think Irish Point had a genuinely great chance to give us some nice profit in that series, and obviously now won't be. So I referenced Teahupoo there. Teahupoo is the 7-4 favourite at this point, and I'm keeping the Stayers Hurdle very, very simple in that I think he wins. Clearly, Rob Corr think he's got a great chance of winning. If they've sent a great horse like Irish Point away from this race, they're obviously pretty confident in Teahupoo. We know Teahupoo loves soft ground. He looks set to get that this week at the festival. A 7-year-old, obviously came third last year in his 6-year-old season. A good performance, not far behind Cider Burley there. And I think takes that step up in what looks to be a pretty weak Stayers division this year. Teahupoo we saw once this season, beating Impere Pass and Astro Diamond, and then has been put away for this race, which seems sensible by Gordon Elliott. Now, I just referenced there, not the strongest field this year. You know, there were horses who throughout the season have been in this race, like Thalim, the French import, who won't be going here, like Irish Point, who I generally think had a great chance. Impere Pass was talked about for this race. Gaelic Warrior was the favourite at the start of the season. But the race looks to have kind of settled on Teahupoo at the head of the market, who I think has a fantastic chance of winning. Really can't see past Teahupoo. So Teahupoo is my selection. I think Crambo, who's also around the 7-1 mark, would be, you know, a great story if he won. Paisley Park would be an even better story if he won, though he's about 25 years old now. So my selection, keeping it simple for the Stayers on soft ground, is Teahupoo to win. Day 3, race 5, and it's the Plate, the second handicap that comes on day 3 of the festival. And at the head of the market, we've got Crebley, who at the time of filming this is the 7-2 favourite for the race. I think this could be the JP McManus gamble of the week. You always get a JP McManus gamble. We saw it last year with a number of horses, like our Rocco, for example. But Crebley has some great form this season behind Ginny's Destiny and Grey Dawning. Off a mark of 140, beat Muir as well, has a genuinely good shot of winning this race. But I don't like to go to the head of the market for handicaps. I like to look for bigger prices, and therefore my selection for this race is St Felician for Gordon Elliott. Now, we saw St Felician in the 2022 festival, pulled up in the Coral Cup, then had a break of over 600 days, so there was clearly something amiss there, but has come out this season in his novice chasing season and has looked very good again. Has looked like the St Felician that we were expecting, back in 2022. Some really nice chase runs, has ended on a mark of 146. Jack Kennedy has been on the horse for all 4 of those runs. 3 of those coming on heavy ground as well. So, if we do get the soft or even heavy ground that we're expecting this week, St Felician is going to be absolutely fine. One last time out on heavy ground over this distance of just over 2.5 miles as well. So, look, I've given my opinions on handicaps throughout this series. I think they are quite often tough to assess, but at 14-1, St Felician looks to be Gordon Elliott's best chance in this race with Jack Kennedy on board after a nice chase season off a nice mark, and therefore it's my selection for the plate. Day 3, race 6, it's the Mares Novice Hurdle, and this is a race I'm so excited for. It looks to be an absolute corker with 3 really, really good looking mares at the top of this race who are all undefeated over hurdles, all have exceptional chances. I split an opinion all over social media, and yeah, look, like I say, really excited for this one. So, top of the market, you've got Brighter Days Ahead, Gordon Elliott horse, 11-8, who has definitely been the Gordon Elliott hype horse this season. Gordon Elliott seems so bullish on the chances of Brighter Days Ahead. Has done everything asked of her this season. Has won every race over hurdles. That includes a Grade 3. That includes a listed race. And from the start of the season, Gordon Elliott has been all over this horse. So I think has a great chance of winning. Is my selection for this race. And I'm sure will go on to a fantastic career after this novice season. Then you've got Jade de Grugy, currently priced around the 2-1 mark for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins has obviously won this race 5 out of the 8 times it's been run. Certainly knows how to win this race and looks to have another great chance in Jade de Grugy, who again has done everything right this season, undefeated, won that Grade 3 Solarina Stakes nicely, and again could be an exceptional horse. Then for the UK, you've got Dysart Enos, currently priced around the 7-2 mark. Is getting weight from the other 2, so that could be an advantage. Certainly looks to have a lot of speed in a number of those performances. So again, undefeated, I should have said, but in a number of those performances has sped away from the rest of the field at the end. No shortage of speed. I'm sure going to be a brilliant horse as well, and is obviously the best chance for the UK in this race. But I think 3 brilliant horses. I'm siding with Brighter Days Ahead just because it looks like she could be an absolute superstar in future years. But would not be surprised to see the other 2 win either, because it looks to be a really hotly contested Mares Novice Hurdle this year. So Brighter Days Ahead, my selection, currently priced around the 11-8 mark. Day 3, race 7 is the Kim Muir. And look, if the rain comes, if we get the expected rain on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this could be an absolute slugfest to finish the 3rd day of the festival. Last year, more horses were pulled up in this race than actually finished the race. That could be the case again. And it's another handicap where JP McManus has the favourite. I know the way you're thinking, currently priced at 7-2, who could be the gamble of the week. I've said that about a number of JP McManus handicap horses. Who knows? But the way I'm going to play this race is quite simple. I'm going to try and find a horse within the market who I believe to be well handicapped and back it each way. And the horse that I've landed on this year is Bow to Greatness for Ben Pauling, currently priced around the 14-1 mark. Now look, this one's quite simple. I saw an interview on Twitter with Nick Luck and Ben Pauling, where Ben Pauling, seemed bullish on the chances, seemed to say that the horse was very well handicapped, and that's enough for me to pick a handicap selection at the Cheltenham Festival. We saw the horse finish, well behind, about 30 lengths behind Ginny's Destiny, which actually led to Bow to Greatness's mark coming down to a well-respectable mark of 133. We then saw the horse come out recently at Kempton and finished 3rd, beating some good horses on the day like Sam Brown, Il Rodotto, for example, and the mark has stayed at 133 after that run. So let's assume that was a fitness run and the horse is now, well on track to be fit for this race at Cheltenham. is prepped, is ready, is getting off that nice mark of 133, and the trainer clearly seems to believe that the horse is well handicapped. A price of 14 to 1. Let's hope some bookies are paying a load of places on the day. That'll be enough for me to have a small punt on Bow to Greatness at 14 to 1 for the Muir. So that concludes the day 3 selections, and just before we move into day 4, let's recap those. Put them on the screen now. You've got Facile Vega at 3 to 1 for the Turners, Bold Endeavour at 40 to 1 each way for the Potemps, Fildor at 11 to 1 for the Ryanair, Teupu at 7 to 4 for the Stayers, St Felician each way at 14 to 1 for the Plate, Brighter Days Ahead to win that competitive Mares Novice Hurdle at 11 to 8, and Bow to Greatness 14 to 1 each way for the Muir. Like I say, hopefully you've enjoyed this video so far. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for all of my future content. Like this video, comment on this video with your thoughts if you've got any strong selections. But now we're going to move into those day 4 selections as we continue through this video. Okay, day 3 complete. Now on to day 4. I'm filming this on Monday afternoon, late Monday afternoon, and I want to get this video out by this evening. So probably going to whiz through these quicker than I have done the previous 3 days. But let's go through, give my thoughts on a selection for each one of the races on day 4, starting with the Triumph. Day 4, race 1 is the Triumph Hurdle, the first race of the Friday, and I absolutely love the Triumph Hurdle. I love seeing these juveniles come through and hopefully develop into superstars of the future. And I think we do have a superstar of the future in the market leader here, Sergino. Currently even money, 5 to 4 in places. And obviously I've got Sergino in my anti-post series, the 20-bet series that I put up before the festival throughout the year. I've got Sergino at 16 to 1, a £25 bet, so hopefully a few of you are on that as well. It's been an interesting ride over the last few days for Sergino on social media. Was there a bug in the Henderson camp? Is Sergino going to make the festival? It was all up in the air, but Henderson's come out and confirmed that Sergino is 100% for the festival. I think he's a superstar, like I've said, and I think he has a great chance of winning this race. So it's my selection here. There's some other horses I want to note though. Salvador Mundi's coming for a lot of market support. Is now around the 6 to 1 mark. Obviously finished behind Sergino in France. We haven't seen him in the UK yet. So potentially his first run in the UK is going to be at the Triumph. That's going to be very interesting. Then there's some, really good Irish form there from the DRF. We saw Majbra finish behind Cargeese. Storm Heart was favourite for that race. Now, all 3 of those horses are entered in the Triumph. Majbra has overtaken Cargeese, the winner of the race, in the market at 9 to 2. You've got Cargeese around the 7 to 1 mark and Storm Heart around the 9 to 1 mark. I think Cargeese is potentially a nice price. They obviously won that DRF race, which tends to be a good indicator, for this race. In previous years, we've seen the likes of Vauban and Losty Mouth do well in that race and then go on to, obviously perform very well here. Not the case for Gino because he's obviously a UK horse. But then some other horses to note, let's say, in the market, 2 at bigger prices. I like Ethical Diamond, who's around the 14 to 16 to 1 mark. Obviously, I mentioned Ethical Diamond in my Outsiders video previously at 50 to 1, but a horse that Willie Mullins was very sweet on at the start of the season and performed decently in that DRF race as well. And then Mighty Bandit at 33 to 1. Hopefully he runs here. I think he's going to. An interesting horse, another one that was sold in that Caldwell Construction sale. Currently around the 33 to 1 mark. I was favourite for this race after an impressive run at the start of the season, but then disappointed on next run. Could be anything, obviously. I'm surprised he's going here over the Boodles, actually. But, wouldn't be surprised to see Mighty Bandit go well as well. So there's 2 at bigger prices. That DRF form is interesting. Let's see what Salvador Mundi is. But my selection at the head of the market, the same as Vauban and Losty Mouth in previous years, is Sergino around the even money mark. Day 4, race number 2, is the County Hurdle. And it looks like there's going to be some really nice horses in this race. Obviously, as I've said, I'm recording this before final declarations. But my selection is a horse called Absurd for Willie Mullins. A horse with a really good flat pedigree. Won the Ebor at York, a field of 22 there off a flat rating of 104. Then was given a flat rating of 110, which obviously is a really, really strong rating on the flat. Went to the Melbourne Cup, the race that Vauban was backed for, finished 7th in that race, ahead of Vauban, who disappointed on that day. But then has gone back over hurdles this year. We saw the horse Absurd back over hurdles in that Future Champions race, the race that was an absolute slog that Caldwell Potter won in the end. And then we saw the horse at the Dublin Racing Festival in the race that Ballyburn won, where he finished a really nice fourth behind Ballyburn that day, which I think sets him up nicely for a handicap run at the festival, off a nice mark, for Willie Mullins, and maybe won't get the good ground that he probably would prefer as, typical flat horse would. But even though it might be soft, let's hope it dries out a little bit for Absurd. At the price of 10 to 1, I really fancy this horse each way. So it's an each way bet for the County Hurdle and Absurd at 10 to 1. Day 4, race 3, and it's the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Novice Hurdle over 3 miles, the last novice race of the festival. And this year it looks like a competitive renewal of the race. There's some really good horses in there. You've got the likes of Dancing City, who we saw win the Nathaniel Lacey at the Dublin Racing Festival. You've got Reading Tommy Wrong, who is the current favourite at 3 to 1, who we saw win that Lauders of Nace race, beating Il Atlantique at the finish there. Looks really impressive, and I think this step up to 3 mile will suit. But I'm staying loyal to the UK horses. This was won by Paul Nicholls last year with Stay Away Faye, and I think is going to be won again this year by Shanna Bob for Nicky Henderson. Now, we last saw this horse out at Cheltenham over this distance in the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle Trial, the Grade 2 race at Cheltenham back in December. And Shanna Bob won that race. Shanna Bob, in fact, has won all 3 of his races so far. Obviously, one of those being a point-to-point, but has won both of his novice hurdle races. And I think looks a really solid horse. And the form of that race that I just referred to there, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, the trial, not this one, looks really, really strong. Because you've had Moon d'Orange come out since and win. You've had Kerry Hill, who finished 4th on the day there, come out and win mightily impressively since. Which has, only boosted the likes of Shanna Bob for this race. Now, I obviously put up Shanna Bob in my anti-post series, a £20 bet at 20 to 1. 8 to 1 is the current price. I think that is still fair. This horse is obviously in the Donnelly colours, the Shiskin colours, who is going to have a chance in the Gold Cup later in the day here. But I think Shanna Bob for the Donnellys, a 200-gram purchase, is going to have a really good shot at winning the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. So is my selection for this race. Day 4, race 4, and it's the Gold Cup, the flagship race of the Cheltenham Festival. And this year we've got a good looking race for us as well. At the head of the market, 11 to 8, we've got Galopin Des Champs, last year's winner. And Galopin Des Champs is going to be my selection in this race. And look, I know it's tough to do back-to-back Gold Cups, but after that Dublin Racing Festival performance, I just think he is an absolute certainty to win this Gold Cup. So my selection, Galopin Des Champs, but other horses in this race to talk about, Fast or Slow, who obviously finished behind Galopin Des Champs at that race I referred to at the Dublin Race Festival. However, has beaten Galopin Des Champs twice this season. And therefore, whilst Galopin Des Champs may not have been quite fit for those races, has the quality to do so. You've then got Shishkin, who I can't see winning this race, in the colours of Shanna Bob, who I just put up as my selection for the Albert Bartlett in the last race. But I think, Shishkin is just a nutcase, isn't he? He's a Fruit Loop. He will refuse to race, or he'll be pulled up, or, fall at the last, or something will go wrong. So I can't see Shishkin winning. Hewick, who won the King George, I think it'd be a great story if Hewick won. Currently priced at 14 to 1. I'd love to see Hewick win. And then Korak Rambler, the last horse to note, who has won at Cheltenham, the Ultima, the last 2 years, won the Grand National. It'd be really good to see Korak Rambler win, but I just don't think any of those horses later in the market have the quality that Galopin Des Champs has. So my selection for the Gold Cup this year, the 2024 Gold Cup, will be won by Galopin Des Champs. Day 4, race 5, and it's the Hunter's Chase, the amateur race at the festival. I think even if I wasn't trying to whiz through this, I probably wouldn't spend too much time on this race. So I'm keeping it simple, and I'm backing last year's winner, Premier Magic, at a best price of 7 to 1 for this race. Now, if we look at Premier Magic, obviously won last year off a big price, 66 to 1. Now 7 to 1 this year, has won every single race, all 3 of the races that he's running since last year's festival. Has actually won 13 of his last 15 starts, which is mega impressive. Now there's some, questionable form there at some random point-to-point courses across the country, but still got to be taken seriously. Clearly the horse knows how to win. The only thing I will say in this race, the current favourite, It's On The Line, has been purchased by JP McManus, is the 2 to 1 favourite, and I think when JP McManus purchases a horse before Cheltenham, you have to take it very, very seriously. However, Premier Magic obviously beat It's on the Line last year into second place, and at 7 to 1, I'd much rather be on Premier Magic. So my selection in the Hunter's Chase is Premier Magic 7 to 1. Race number 6 of day 4, the penultimate race of the festival, is the Mares' Chase. And look, when the obvious answer is staring you in the face, let's just roll with it. So for this race, I'm going for Dino Blue, who's currently priced at even money for this race. I think, look, if people are chasing money on that last day, it could potentially come in for a gamble and go odds on. But just a really nice horse who I've liked for a long time. Really liked her for the Mares' Novice a few years ago, but that didn't quite go to plan. Last year went for the Grand Annual at the festival, finished second behind Mascada. Has then run 5 times since, winning 4 of those races, one being a grade 3, one being a grade 1. And the only one she didn't win was the run behind El Fabiolo, who's obviously short price favourite for the Champion Chase. I think Dino Blue is a great horse. Will get the step up in trip to the 2.5 miles, and I think will win this race. There's not much in behind her, to be honest. You've got the likes of Limerick Lace, you've got Allegory Devassi. You know, I'm not even going to bother making a case for Allegory Devassi why she will beat Dino Blue, because I don't think she wants the 2.5 miles. She obviously went down to 2 miles last time and looked good, but the 2.5 miles I don't think really suits Allegory Devassi. So I think it's a simple one. I think Dino Blue just comes into the Mares' Chase on the penultimate race of day 4 and wins. Day 4, race number 7, the Martin Pipe, the last race of the 2024 Cheltenham Festival. And look, I think this year it looks like actually quite a tough renewal of the Martin Pipe to pick a winner from. But my selection in this is a horse that I've had on my radar for quite a while. The Terence O'Brien trained Answer to Cafe. Now, an interesting horse, but a horse where I was so taken by his victory back in October over 2 miles at Limerick. Beat What's Up Darling and just finished so strongly on that day. Now, since then, has then finished behind the likes of Loughglyn, beat Captain Cody, who came out the bumper last year, finished second behind Waterford Whispers, who's obviously a short price for this race, and you know about 5 to 1 at the moment, may get even shorter than that. I think the horse has been aimed at this race. The trainer's come out and said he's definitely going to go for the Martin Pipe, so even though we haven't had final decks yet, we can be pretty confident he's going to be declared for this race. Off a mark of 135, so Rocco last year won off a mark of 138. It's going to get nicely in there in the kind of the middle of the weights. I really like that mark. I really like the fact that the horse has clearly been targeted for this race. Doesn't necessarily fit the profile of a Martin Pipe winner. This race has never been won by a horse over the age of 7. Answer to Cafe is 8 years old. But look, I'm sticking to my guns here. 12 to 1. I like Answer to Cafe. Let's have an each way punt on it. But I think Answer to Cafe has a really nice shot at winning the Martin Pipe to send us away from the Cheltenham Festival with a winner. So, final selection for the Martin Pipe, 12 to 1, Answer to Cafe. So that concludes this video. That concludes my day 3 and 4 selections. I'm going to stick my day 4 selections up on the screen now. For my day 3 selections, go back to about halfway through this video. Like I've said all the way through this series, good luck to everyone. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for any future Cheltenham Festival content. Click the like button, leave your comments with your thoughts. But good luck for the festival. Let's enjoy it. Hoping for a good one. And let's check back at the end of the festival and see how many winners we got. Cheers.